2, 1.
And here we go.
It's Simply Craig on the
To the hangout, welcome to the hangout. 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 Hey yo, so me and these dudes doing VR games, movie reviews, infused with whatever topics we choose. If we stop it, we lose, so that's why we keep on dropping the news. And you know us as a crew with the popular views. Includes X and Ray, co-host Free Millie, SC and I'm Price, so you know we really bringing it live, us 5 in the hive. You liking this vibe? Then hit the thumbs up, like and subscribe. To the hangout, welcome to the hangout. I know you want to go to the hangout, welcome to the hangout. To the hangout, welcome to the hangout. Come and have some fun. To the hangout, welcome to the hangout. No matter where you're from.
All right, and we are back after these messages. So, guys, if you're just now joining us, we are here with Tracy McClain, and we just talked a little bit about mental health awareness in our first segment. You know how we do, and she definitely shared her take and her experiences in that, and it got real deep. It got real deep. Got a little emotional at times, you know, but she definitely was very brave and very transparent about everything that she went through. So we definitely appreciate her. And she decided to just go ahead and stick around so we can go ahead and review this movie Radio, which also deals with mental health issues as well. So y'all know how we do around here. All right. As I said, the movie is Radio. And how we like to do is we like to start off first with the cast to go ahead and familiarize everyone with all the players who made this great movie. First of all, we're going to start off with the man, Cuba Gooding Jr. All right. Now, at this time in his life, you know, he had done Jerry Maguire. Okay. No, first of all, let me start from the beginning. First thing I remember seeing him in was what? Can anybody know? I know y'all know out there. It is Boys in the Hood.
Oh, yeah.
Boys in the Hood.
Give me the gun, Trey.
Yeah, y'all know the other words that was using there, but we're gonna keep it a little clean. But that's the first time I saw him, and I was like, okay, who's this guy? You know what I mean? He held his own. You know, he's in there with Ice Cube and Morris Chestnut. Ricky! You know what I'm saying? The women's favorite. I know y'all the favorite chocolate man for women out there. So yeah, and they held their own. You know, it was a classic movie, and so he was on my radar. Then the next time I remember seeing him in something significant was Jerry Maguire.
Show me the money.
Opposite of Tom Cruise. And we already know that's the one that he won that Best Supporting Actor Oscar for. All right. And then the next thing I remember seeing him in was Radio. Now, for me, coming off of those other roles and everything like that, especially coming off of that Oscar win, you know, I had a lot of high hopes for him. So, you know, I went into this kind of feeling like, all right, let's see what he's got. All right. Because, I mean, we're used to people like Denzel portraying, you know, real life characters and basically knocking it out of the park. So I wasn't exactly sure, you know, how Cuba would do, you know. But I got to say, man, I was immensely impressed with his portrayal of this man, and actually made me more interested in that character too, to find out, you know, who this guy actually was. Now, a little bit of background on Cuba Gooding Jr. If you don't know, his father is Cuba Gooding Sr., and that was one of the main lead singers for the group, The Main Ingredient. Now, unfortunately, we did lose him, and he died of natural causes. But if you never listened to The Main Ingredient, man, you got to go back. You know what I'm saying? And check them out. I know you might have heard Isley Brothers' rendition of Summer Breeze. But I tell you right now, The Main Ingredient, and my mom, I know if she's listening, she'll tell you also that her favorite rendition of that song is done by The Main Ingredient. So go back and check that out. You know what I'm saying? It definitely will blow your mind and ease your mind at the same time. So Cuba Gooding is playing the lead character, you know, Radio. Next up, we have Ed Harris, all right, playing Coach Jones. And, you know, actually, as I was watching this again, I was like, I wonder if anybody else could have played that role. And they may have been able to, of course, but for some reason, I really feel like Ed Harris just embodied that character, it actually made me want to know about the coach, the real life coach and everything. Okay, so next in line, what we'll do is we'll touch on Afri Woodard, who played Principal Daniels. And I gotta say, man, even as I've seen her as of recently, and I'm just like, man, that black don't crack, man. I know y'all keep hearing me saying it, but good grief. And listen, that's no slight on all my other ethnicities out there, okay? I'm sorry. But I've heard some of y'all say it too, man. These people look good, man. Mm-hmm. They look good, still flawless, So definitely Afri Woodard, she's still doing her thing. I definitely want to shout out Deborah Winger, playing, Coach Jones' wife. I think she did a great job as well. And she definitely has some I would say controversial roles at sometimes in her career and everything. But when she plays her roles, she plays them very well. Next, moving on, his mother, played by Epatha. I'm sorry, I don't want to butcher your name, but Epatha Murkison. She played Maggie Kennedy, and she definitely made you feel like a mother that truly cared about her son, but was also very protective of that son. Like, she didn't play. All right. Now, you if you listened to the interview earlier and you heard Tracy on that black mama stuff, yeah, she was a black mama. You know what I'm saying? Like, for real. Like, yeah. Definitely got to shout out Brent Sexton, who played Honeycutt. He was Coach Honeycutt. He was the right-hand man to Coach Jones, we don't shout out Chris Mulkey, because even though he was kind of the antagonist, he played the role of Frank, which was Johnny, I think, what was his name? Can't remember his last name, but the guy who was basically the antagonist for radio. He played his father. And, definitely one of the things that we saw a change in his attitude, throughout the movie, and really kind of found out that his father was the one that was really pushing that narrative more than anything. So, but those are some of the main players that we have in there. All right. We'll even call out Sarah Drew, who played Mary Helen, played Coach Jones' daughter, and Riley Smith, who played Johnny. Like I said, he was the antagonist for radio. So, really good cast. Mm-hmm. I think everyone kind of dove into their role and became these real life people. So yeah. So we just want to go ahead and just give you a quick little overview of who is actually playing in this movie. And so now, Miss Tracy McClain, since you decided to go ahead and be a part of the Hangout cast for the day, all right? Mm-hmm. Shout out to all my castmates out there, CBR, Country Boy Ray, SC, Bree Millie, 40, and definitely last but not least, that boy X-A-Million, X the unannounced. You know what I'm saying? Much love to you, brother. We know what you just went through. You know what I'm saying? Our condolences and everything like that. Can't wait to have you back. But playing and I would say filling in for those roles today is Miss Tracy McClain. You know what I mean? And so, Miss Tracy, if you don't mind, can you tell us what this movie's all about?
I sure can. In a racially divided town, Coach Jones, who's played by Ed Harris, spots a mentally disabled African-American student named Radio, who's played by Cuba Gooding Jr., near his practice field, and is inspired to befriend him. Soon, Radio is Jones' loyal assistant, and Principal Daniels, played by Miss Alfred Woodard, happily notes that Radio's self-confidence is skyrocketing. But things start to sour when Jones begins taking guff from fans who feels that his devotion to Radio is getting in the way of the team's quest for a championship. The release date of this movie was 2003, USA. Director was Michael Tolan. Distributed by Columbia Pictures, Sony Pictures Releasing. Budget was $30 million USD. Box office was $52.6 million.
All right. So, okay, they made a little money, $22 million, you know what I'm saying? Back in 2003, not bad at all. I think what we don't want is we don't want to make less than what our budget was. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's for sure. So if you made a little bit of money, cool. That movie was a success. So, now getting into this, y'all know before we really dive into it, we're going to play the trailer and everything like that. But here's a little bit of information that we want to give you to kind of set this up so you'll know exactly who we're talking about. All right. James Robert Radio Kennedy. All right. He was born in October 14, 1946. And unfortunately, we lost him on December 15, 2019. He was an American man with an intellectual disability who was known for his association with the T.L. Hanna High School football team in Anderson, South Carolina. He first gained prominence in 1996 when Gary Smith wrote an article about Kennedy for Sports Illustrated titled Someone to Lean On. Kennedy's story was then made into a feature film in 2003 titled Radio. Now, this was according to Wikipedia, y'all. Also, according to Bartleby.com, the real Radio was never diagnosed with a specific disorder. But if he did actually have autism spectrum disorder, the movie did an excellent job at portraying the signs and symptoms of ASD.
And I'd like to add, according to soma.org, autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, or autism is a complex neurological and developmental disorder that affects how a person acts, communicates, learns, and interacts with others. ASD affects the structure and function of the brain and nervous system. Because it affects a child's development, ASD is called a developmental disorder. ASD can last throughout a person's life. People with this disorder have problems with communication, interaction with other people's, basically social skills, restricted interests, and repetitive behaviors. And this, again, is according to soma.org.
Now, I want to ask you before we delve into this, had you had any experiences with anyone with autism before in your field along your...
I have. When I worked at the state school, that was kind of one of my first big girl jobs as an RN. We had patients that had autism, but they were, back then they called them low functioning MR, but they did have repetitive behavior, and that would be sitting in the corner, clapping their hands, or making a certain type of sound over and over and over. And what we would have to do is give prompts to kind of distract the individual, right, and help them follow whatever curriculum we had going on that day.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, so guys, what we're going to do right now, we're going to go ahead and roll that beautiful bean footage. All right. As we do, and get into this trailer for Radio.
We do things as a team, gentlemen. Full speed!
In a town driven by competition.
Coach, you reckon these are the boys gonna take us back to state?
If I was to tell you that, y'all wouldn't have anything to talk about.
The last thing anyone wanted.
Getting home late?
Can't you just make room for your daughter and football?
Was a distraction.
Hey, Einstein, throw it over here. Come on, throw it. Hey, coach, he took our ball.
That boy has been rolling by here for a long time now.
No, I don't want the football. Why don't you bring it by practice later? I'll find you something to do. See the young man over there? He goes by Radio. He's gonna be helping us out for a while.
On and ahead! It's Radio!
What exactly is wrong with him?
He the same as everybody else, just a little slower than most.
It's Radio! What band I put on?
Just grab something and...
How about this one?
Those look fine, Radio.
Okay!
You got yourself a distraction needs dealing with.
Radio!
Quite a show you put on out there tonight, Coach. Just wonder if you're running a football program or a social club.
We're not gonna be able to take you on a bus today. Some folks, they just don't understand yet, but they're gonna catch on, believe me.
Why on earth are you doing this?
I figure it's the right thing to do. Gary Powers is released from the Soviet Union. True or false?
False!
What'd you say, Radio?
False!
I know we haven't had much chance to talk.
Radio needs what you're doing more than I do.
You play with heart and never stop believing in each other.
It's just better if we do things the way we used to.
You take him out of this school, you might as well just take his life from him.
I'm not so sure we're trying to help somebody here. Never a mistake to care for someone.
But the truth is, we're not the ones been teaching Radio. Radio's the one been teaching us.
All right. That was the trailer for Radio. And as y'all know that they do, and we call it out when they do, there's a couple parts in there was not in that movie. So I don't know if this director's cut or what happened or cutting room floor, but there was a couple parts that we saw and it was like, wait a minute. I don't remember that. But for the most part, most of that stuff I saw in the trailer was in the movie. And as I'm looking at it, I chuckled a couple times and I'm like, okay, I remember that part. That made me laugh, And it was funny because as I'm watching him play this, and then, usually at the end, they'll have you'll see the real person and kind of the ways they really act. And you're like, man, Cuba played that role because first of all, you're trying to stay true to the source material, but you also have to, it's Hollywood. So you have to kind of fix it up a little bit, right? You got to make it entertaining, of course, right? You want to stay true to the source material, but you also want to kind of, I don't want to say embellish, but you got to kind of paint, fix it up a little bit to where it's just entertaining to people. So as I noticed some of the things that he did in there, I don't know if Radio really did this in real life, but it was funny. Some of the things were entertaining. Like, of course, the pie thing. The pie thing is just a funny part for me, when she's basically asking like, hey, we got peach cobbler and we got blueberry, what you want? Both. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, but I feel like I would say the same thing too. I don't want to have to choose. Just give me both of them pies, But okay, so you guys heard the trailer. We're going to go ahead and dive into this movie. First of all right, we see the movie starts off with Radio pushing the cart and everything like that. We don't really know what his destination is or what's going on with him, but you can kind of tell already that, something's a little off. Something's a little off with him. You don't kind of know what it is exactly yet, but you do know that, he's black, right? He's going through a couple little things, you know what I'm saying? But he's still black. So when he's walking through the town, what do people do? They kind of getting out of his way. I saw the one white lady had her daughter and she's kind of ushering her off to the side. Like, oh no, what, and it's like, good grief, right? So on top of being black, then, he's having some mental issues going on as well. So it's like, man, he's just really getting it rough, but we see him, doing his thing, pushing the cart and get all the way up to where I guess the high school is, and they're out there practicing and so forth and so on. Something he definitely seems interested in, and then I like, how basically they show the coach, and the coach is, he's doing his thing, he's coaching, but he kind of, he spots, Radio out there, and he kind of looks like, what's going on with that young man out there, right? But already, you can kind of tell he's a little different from everyone else's reaction. Everyone else's reaction has been like, oh my God, what's wrong with him? Let's get out of the way and let's move away from this guy. But you can see what's in this coach's eyes. There's a little bit more curiosity as to, hey, what's going on? When you do find out later about the coach's motivation, it ties everything together as to why he was so adamant about helping this kid, because you don't know. You're just thinking, oh, he's just such a good Samaritan, right? I think everybody's asking him, Coach, why are you doing this? Like, yeah, we know you want to help, but you're going super, super hard on this. So what is it, And they hint a little bit, but something's going on. So I really do like from the beginning all the way to the end how they had something there to say, okay, he's doing this for a reason, but we don't quite know it until he actually reveals it. So anyway, starting off, Tracy.
Yes.
When you first watched this, how many times have you watched this movie?
Realistic, maybe 3 times. It's been so long, but just, recently when you all asked me to. Mm-hmm. And I picked up on some things that...
You didn't catch the first time, right?
I did not.
Yes.
I did not catch the first time, but I did notice this time.
It's cool when you go back and watch movies like from 2003, right? Mm-hmm. We're talking like 22 years ago, or 21 years ago, I'm sorry. And so you're younger. We were grown, but you're younger, right? So certain things aren't processing to you at the time. So that's why I say when I go and do these rewatches, I'm like, oh, I'm older now. And I've had certain life experiences. And so certain things click to me right there. And I'm like, God, I wonder how I missed that the first time. But it's like your mind isn't trained to that yet, because it hasn't matured to that level for you to really pinpoint something like that. So rewatches are always good to me. But anyway, so you're rewatching it with your experiences that you've gone through. How close to home did this hit for you?
I don't know, because in my situation, like, Raw he wasn't autistic, but talking about the character himself, I noticed that he was radio, because he had so many radios in his room.
Yep.
So that's telling me that he may have been a savant, because he was able to take them apart.
Yes, he was. I noticed that too. Right.
And do all of that. And also how he excelled when he got into an environment where there was a lot of stimulation. Mama loved him, but she was kind of, protective.
Yes.
And not saying smothering, but protective, worried about him. So it came down to a nature versus nurture.
Right.
That he was there, he had the love and everything, but he didn't have the stimulus that he needed in order for his mind to expand and for him to grow.
Absolutely. And that's what I feel, because the mothers automatically are going to be protective. They don't want anybody to hurt their son, but not realize. And this goes for mothers who don't have children that have autism or whatever. Sometimes you think you're protecting, but you're actually hindering their growth. You're stunning their growth, because they need to go out there and experience certain things with different people and so forth and so on. And they need to know how to react and handle situations, because spoiler alert, you won't always be here. You won't always be here to protect them. And if you've done nothing but shelter them and provide this protective cover for them, when you are gone, what do they do? And I think we kind of saw a little bit of that with Radio when he experienced some traumatic, things later on in this movie. What I want to do first is, before we move on to that, because you guys know that we have producer Timmy in the house, all right? And producer Timmy is always in the background. She's doing her thing. When we're reading off these facts and all that we tell you, this is Timmy, and something that we come up with in the last minute, we're like, hey, Timmy, write that down, right? So y'all always hear it. Y'all know there is a Timmy, but what you never hear is, you never hear her. But fortunately, because of what we're discussing today, she has her own experience. She has her own, life experiences to actually interject into this also, that may help someone else, especially from what we're dealing with when we're talking about what's going on with radio and so forth and so on. And so, producer Timmy, I actually want to bring you in right now before we get too deep into this movie, and give you a chance to talk about, the things that you've gone through in your own personal experiences when it pertains to this movie.
I have a 18-year-old son who was diagnosed with intellectual delays when he was 4. I've had him tested multiple times for autism, and he never tests that he's autistic, but he does have a lot of autistic tendencies. He gets stuck in a loop sometimes, and like if he's watching a movie that he likes, he'll rewind like a 5-minute segment, and he'll only watch that 5 minutes over and over again. So he does have some of the repetitive habits that are typical with children with autism, but they insist that he's not on the spectrum, even though I personally disagree with that.
As I was listening to you, and you've watched the movie with me before, you've seen me take a scene back in a minute. Like, I'll take a scene back in a second if I think I like that scene or so forth and so on. Or I'm like, oh, did you hear what I just heard or such? I might take that scene back about 2 or 3 times, and you know that, right? So, as I'm listening to you, and I've actually been around your son and seen some of the things, that he's done. And I told you, like, when it came to his birthday and, I gave him some money for a video game. I know he likes video games. I saw your son get that money, start counting that money out. You know what I'm saying? To see like, oh, okay, well, let's see how much this is, bro. And so I'm saying to myself, like, that's pretty normal to me, because if people give me money, first thing I'm doing, like, okay, let me count that money and see what we talking about, what we working with here. You feel what I'm saying? Now, do you want to give us the specific diagnosis that you received, since you said that you tested him for autism? What is that diagnosis?
Well, initially when he was younger, they diagnosed him with a disorder called delayed speech. And with delayed speech, they said it could affect his ability to learn and different things like that. But it also could affect them physically, but my kid has no physical disabilities at all. He's 6'2", 330 pounds. There's physically nothing wrong with him. And then as he got older, they went from saying the diagnosis changed from delayed speech because he was talking to the actual diagnosis is intellectual disability. He's a lot more developed than the radio character is, but his diagnosis does affect his ability to learn. But he'll be a senior in high school in August. When he was 3, I had taken him to the ENT to make sure that he could hear properly. And the lady that conducted the testing told me I needed to settle into the fact that he'll never learn, nor will he ever talk. And I asked the doctor about it, and the doctor said, "Why would I say that?" And I explained to them that the nurse who did the testing said that was what I needed to just kind of make up my mind to deal with. And the doctor was like, "No, he'll talk when he's ready to talk." And he did. And now, he is a talking member of society for sure. If he needs something, he calls and asks, So sometimes with kids like that and people like radio, they give them a diagnosis and they make the families feel like there's no way they can ever get better or do better. And a lot of times they just need the right stimulation in order to improve how they interact with the world, basically.
Totally agree. And it's unfortunate that people like that nurse will do things like that and try to discourage someone. First of all, let me say God got the last say so. So you can't tell me. You know what I mean? So, but I will also say that I have heard your son, and I've been near you when he's called you and whatnot. First of all, he can use the phone. That's the first thing. All right. So I know somebody who does not have not been diagnosed with intellectual delays and so forth, still don't know how to use the phone. So let's just get that on out the way first. Second of all, when I've heard him call you, it's like, "Hey, mama, can I get some ice cream? Mama, can I, where's the such and such at? Where is it?" You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, he sounds like a regular teenager to me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, you know what I mean? I'm trying to find where are these symptoms or whatever that, they're saying, because I'm like, it's not that easy for me to see. He sounds like a regular teenager to me. And just like you said, he's a big old dude. You know what I mean? As a matter of fact, if this was a movie, it'd be like The Blind Side or something. You know what I'm saying? If he played football, you know what I mean? But yeah, I definitely want to bring you in so you can at least put that out there, because as I was talking to Tracy earlier and I was saying, back in the day, it was if you were not normal, you were grouped into they were retarded. That was it. There was no, you know what I'm saying, just subcategories, nothing, anything like that. It was just like all bunched in one group, and that's not your son, at all. So I definitely want to give you an opportunity to give your take on that, as that compares to what you saw and what you experienced by watching radio. And I totally agree. What radio has going on and what your son has going on, completely different, issues. You know what I mean? So, and I will say too, that your son plays video games. I play video games. He plays them from the beginning. He plays them to the end. I know people who don't have those diagnoses, you know what I'm saying, that can't complete a game. All right. So I'm just saying, man, people have all these expectations or their own interpretations of what is mental illnesses and what is not. So anyway, I definitely want to bring you in for that. And then I know that you have had other experiences with other family members as well. You want to just give us a quick little background on that, what happened?
I have a brother who in high school had a car accident that left him in a coma for many months. And when he came out of the coma, they said he had suffered frontal lobe damage. While he was in the coma, all his acceptance letters that he had applied for college were coming in. So he had been accepted to MIT. He had baseball scholarships to Notre Dame and Kansas. And once he came out of the coma, he was just not the same person. He can mentally, he could still do the complicated math because he was going to be an engineering student. So he can do the math, but because of the frontal lobe damage, he's not capable of sitting in a classroom Monday, Wednesday, Friday for 2 hours. He just can't do it. But if you give him like a random math problem, he can look at it and do it and not give it any thought. So just like Tracy's son, Ra, the smarts, they're in there. They haven't gone anywhere. It's just harder for them to direct them in the same direction like they did prior to having something happen to their brain, some kind of physical trauma to their brain. So, and now if you ever saw my brother walking down the street, you would never think there was anything wrong. But if you sit down and start having a conversation with him, there's something in the back of your mind saying there is something different about this person. And, if you don't know his history, you wouldn't know what it was. But it's people, I don't think they understand that your brain is a very delicate thing. And if it's beaten up, banged on, slammed into a tree, like what happened with my brother, it still works. It just doesn't work the same way.
Absolutely. And that's basically why they tell you, don't drop the babies. You know what I'm saying? Because that's like you say, or shake them as well. Don't shake them. Don't drop them. Because that your brain is very delicate and even more delicate, right, as a baby. Tracy, you have anything to add about that?
Oh, I was listening to what Timothy was saying, and she's absolutely correct. There's a lot of things that she said that about basically the traumatic brain injury of the brain being, even with babies shaking, the brain, our skull is just this one. It's a hard mass, and you have this delicate brain, and it shears. I think a lot of the football players are experiencing that.
With concussions and I forgot.
Concussions, behavioral changes, outbursts, and things like that.
Right.
They're still doing so many studies. I know that in Dallas there is a hospital that's specifically for that I wanted to take Ra to. So I wasn't able to get his mild traumatic brain disorder diagnosed. But I know that that's what it was, being medical.
Right.
And also, you were talking about the medical society, and Timothy was talking about that. And what the nurse said, sometimes the nurses will get gung-ho, and they're not supposed to diagnose, and they're not supposed to say things like that without the doctor being there. Actually, a physician is supposed to give that type of news, not the nurse. And so they step outside of their lane so many times.
Right.
And can discourage parents. So they should, in fact, like she said, don't just listen to what that person says. That's just one person.
Right.
Right. Go with your heart and expose your child to as much as you can. Just like I've known her for quite a bit, and she does a lot for her son.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Well, Timmy, we definitely appreciate you sharing. I know you don't come behind the curtain, from behind the curtain too often, but you did, and we definitely appreciate that. Great job, sharing that, because I'm pretty sure there are some listeners out there that have gone through, are going through, or possibly will go through some of the same things that both of you have shared today. So I just want to go do that before we actually just really delve back into the movie. Just kind of set it up and let everyone know this is not just a movie, y'all. This is things that people actually go through. And fortunately, someone saw fit to to highlight this and put this out for the world to see, which I'm glad they did. And like I said, very well acted by Cuba Gooding. So as we were saying, we have had the Coach Jones, who has taken notice to radio. All right. And now we have what's going on in the movie is that played by Riley Smith, Johnny, and his, flunkies, and however I would say, because you know how this goes. I mean, you have the one guy and he has little followers behind him, and they pretty much do whatever he does and so forth, so on, to be cool and think what's funny. And when you're a kid, first of all, kids can be quite mean. Let's just be for real about it. All right. You know what I'm saying? Kids can be quite mean at times. All right. And so, this guy, Johnny, was definitely one of them. And when we come back up on the scene, we're back with Coach and Coach Honeycutt. And all of a sudden we see that the kids are over there by the shed or whatever, the storage shed or whatever. And they're beating the wall. I mean, bouncing the ball against the door, and he's like, what's going on? Because they don't just stick around for practice like that, so he already knows, Coach Jones already knows something's going on, so he's like, let me go and investigate, see what's going on around there. And we come to find out that they have basically hog-tied him pretty much, and put him inside of this shed, and they're banging the door, the ball against the door and everything, and just pretty much antagonizing him. Radio hasn't done anything to anybody, hasn't done anything to deserve that, but he's a weaker person, and so that's what the stronger do at times, right? They pick on the weak person, and they pretty much have him in there and just really scaring the crap out of him, and they find this hilarious, right? But this is the first moment that you get to see who Coach Jones is, because this enrages him. Okay. He goes in there to get, radio out. He's trying to cut the restraints off him, because they pretty much taped it around his wrist and his ankles. Even I think I saw one on his neck, and, radio doesn't know any of these guys. And, of course, you can't imagine what he's feeling at the time, what I'm saying, that someone has done this to him. And then this other person is coming and got a knife trying to, he's like freaking out. And then, he's so frantic when he does get him free of the restraints and everything. He trips on the way coming out and everything and all that stuff, which I will say, because I've looked at that part quite a few times. I want to see if that was a stunt double or that was Cuba, but that was Cuba doing that. You know what I mean? I was like, boy, that's why he really going for it. But for me, that was the first moment that we got a chance to see who Coach Jones was. You know what I mean? Like his character of what he was. You know what I mean? We're not talking about race or nothing like that. We're just talking about being a good, upstanding citizen. And so right there, I was like, okay, I'm liking this guy. I'm liking him so far. Honeycutt, I couldn't really tell what Honeycutt was on. I knew he had a lot of respect for Coach Jones. You know what I mean? And I wonder at times what would he have done if he was just off on his own. But I will say that if Coach Jones was with it, Honeycutt was with it. You know what I mean? That was his man. Seemed like that was his man, $50,000, right? Mm-hmm. But of course, right after that, you know what I'm saying, he does what a coach should do. What they call it, he was called in the military, dusted them. He dusted them, for hours, just made them do suicides, run from, one end of the fence to the next end of the fence and everything like that, which of course, instead of teaching them a lesson, just probably really angered Johnny more than anything, right? Because he got in trouble for doing something he had no business doing, right? But anyway, the next thing that we come across is that, what I will say first of all, this is the first time we got a chance to see what Alfred Woodard was on as Principal Daniels. And I don't know if you recall in that part of the movie when she was like, hey, so I heard about that incident and, you know what I'm saying, how you going to handle it and so forth and so on. Now, I will say, because I didn't know they had a black principal at that time, you know what I'm saying, which of course is like, that's, yeah, not bad for that time, right? But she didn't play. That's what I liked about her. She didn't play. She couldn't play at all. She didn't have the room. And it was funny because sometimes you kind of didn't know what she was on. Because like, is she against radio or is she not? And then you're thinking like, but she's black and he's black. So what's the problem? But as a principal who has to, say she has to stay on what side of what's right and what is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
And in that situation, she had to look at the overall scope of it. It was like the needs of the many outweigh the need of the one. And so if his one situation caused conflict, not only for her, but for the other students or problems, then she had to go with the mini.
Exactly.
As opposed to just him. Although I'm sure she wanted to do all she could.
She wanted to for the young black kid, right? But at the same time, it's like, especially being in that position, and you already know if we're in that position, they're waiting for something.
At that time,
they're waiting for something to get you out of there, right? So she's like, hey, you know what I'm saying? I got to do this right?
Mm-hmm.
So just playing that strong black woman, I just really love that about her, and she is one of the perfect people to play that too. I mean, I know we always call out the what is the Angela Bassett's and you know what I'm saying, all these other people here, but don't sleep on Afri Woodard. She always commands her role every time.
She does.
So that's, we get a chance to see kind of, okay, and like I said, at the time it's kind of hard to see what she's on. Even throughout the whole movie, up until the last part, you kind of like, is she against him? Is she with him? Is she, what? But anyway, so it was good to see how he disciplined them. And after that, we get a chance to see him try to gain the trust of radio. Okay. Now, first of all, it's not easy to communicate with radio, right? Because he mostly communicates with a radio. I mean, that's his thing, right? He doesn't say much, you know what I mean? Seems a little shy, seems a little timid, at times and everything like that. But we see that Coach is a very, very patient person. And that's what I liked about him. You know what I mean? He was extremely patient with radio. He was not willing to give up, just like you said earlier in your interview about continue to have that hope. He never gave up hope from the first time all the way to the end. He never gave up hope. Again, we don't know his motivations at the time, but we like him, right? I mean, you like Coach Jones so far, right?
I liked him because he allowed him to grow up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Mom loved him, but she babied him. Right. She coddled him.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he saw this, even though they weren't the same color, he saw this strong person allowed him to be who he was.
Right.
He became an individual.
Absolutely.
And
And I will say that's actually speaks toward the importance of having a female and a male figure in your life.
Yes.
You got to have the balance. Right. The women, like you said, going to be a little bit more nurturing. The male, on the other hand, might be like, look, okay, that part is cool too, but you still you got to grow. You got to progress and so forth and so on as well out here in this world. So that was a good balance for him because as we could see that the father wasn't around. Right. I think he had passed.
On.
He had passed. So he didn't have a father. Now he had an older brother, you know what I'm saying? But his older brother's out there doing his thing, trying to live and get on with his life as well. So he wasn't there to be that father figure for radio,
But he was there when he needed him.
But he was there when he needed him.
Passed away.
Yep.
He came. He was there.
He was there.
So.
So again, like I said, I like the patience of Coach Jones. So Coach Jones has gotten radio a little bit more involved into things. He's pretty much let the team know, like, hey, listen, basically get with the program because we're going to bring radio into this. And we're going to start implementing him into some of our practices and so forth and so on. And so it was good because you got a chance to kind of see a little bit of a montage of the things of that he was allowing radio to do. And of course, since some people they're just not so accepting of this, right? So to some people, it's a little bit of an issue. And let's just be for real. Change is not easy for some people. Some people have to stick to the same regimen they do all the time, and if you try to throw a little bit of change in there, they're going to get pushback. You're going to get some pushback because some people just don't want to accept change, even if it's absolutely good for them. Mm-hmm. And having radio as a part of this was something good. Coach could see it. Honeycutt would go along with it because that's what Coach wanted. But of course, you getting some of the the pushback from the Johnnies and whoever else, his flunkies and so forth and so on. But as we can see that. He's definitely a good motivator for the team. He's a good-hearted person, regardless of his shortcomings or mental issues, anything like that. His heart is good. There's nothing wrong with his heart. You know what I mean? At all. He's a very sharing type of person, and we'll get into more of that later in some of the scenes that we saw. But by this time, Tracy,
yes.
What do you feel about the movie so far?
I think it was heartwarming, but it showed that a person can change if they have the right tools and the right people in their lives. And basically, as I said before, you don't give up hope, never give up.
Right.
Try to move forward. And even the mom, she did all she could. She worked. I mean, she was out there working hours and hours just to make
and
sure that he had a safe place to live.
What was her occupation?
She was in the medical.
Hey, shout out to all the nurses out there. You know what I'm saying?
100. We've worked those doubles.
That's right.
Things like that. And you work to provide for the family.
Right.
And make sure that he had a safe place. So she was a big part of it.
Absolutely.
You know, although she coddled him, she made sure he was safe.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, so as we go along with this, we have him involved, and now we get into actually having some games. And, he's out there and, he's mingling with some of the cheerleaders. He's out there trying to learn some of the, the routines with the cheers. He's out there with coach, right on the sideline and everything, even to the point of actually kind of telling the other team what some of the plays are, you know what I mean? And then he don't know any better, right? He don't mean to do it, but the coach is trying to tell the quarterback, hey, reverse, and then Radio's so excited, he's like, hey, reverse, and then, of course the other team hears it, and they of course get a chance to stop him, and they lose the game, so forth and so on like that.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
Yeah. So
that part.
Yeah, and so of course, I mean, people in the stands, they don't know what's going on, right? You know what I mean? It's just like, hey, what you doing? You got this distraction out here. You know what I'm saying? I mean, okay, I see you trying to care for the kid and everything, but man, he's making us lose games. Especially here in Texas, okay, people here do not play about football, and especially high school. They don't play about football, partner. Okay, this is a lifestyle here. You know what I mean? Like, for real. So to see that, I'm like, okay, I can identify with that. You know what I mean? Because I do know people who are so much into that. They would get upset. It's like, hey, I'm not a bad guy, but right now you got this person that's in here that's causing us to lose. Okay, I got a problem with that. Okay, so I resonated with that because I know some people who are just into football that much. However, still, Coach knew what the right thing to do was. He knew that what was way more important than this football game was this young man's, inclusion into normal activities with other people. Because it's like you said,
yeah,
the mama's coddling him and kind of keeping him away from all that. He's trying to bring him into it, make him feel more normal. You know what I'm saying? Have other people understand that, look, he's not a threat to society or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? He's actually a good person. And so this causes a rift with someone in particular. And that was played by Chris Mulkey's, by Chris Mulkey. He was playing the character of Frank, and that was Johnny's dad.
The banker.
And, parents out there, I don't know if y'all understand that some of the things you do and you say, your kids pick up on it. They pick up on your energy. All right. Racism, all this stuff here, it's a learned behavior. You don't come out of the womb racist.
No, you don't.
You learn it by hearing your parents say the racist things that they say and all that. And then you just, it must be right. If your parents are saying it, how can it be wrong? Right. So, this is obvious with Johnny, as he's probably heard his father say certain things. I mean, his father's a banker. He looks like he was one of the top guys in there, right? So he's a successful guy. Why would you not listen to this person? Mm-hmm. So you can kind of tell he probably, worship his father. And so that's why he's treating someone like Radio the way that he is, antagonizing him and so forth and so on. And being, hateful and jealous of him for what? I mean, why? He's not doing anything to you, right? Mm-hmm. And so we see that come from Frank. And Frank is basically saying, because this is one thing that they do after the game, obviously, I guess this is a kind of a routine. They go to the local barbershop, right? And, the barbershop now, for the ladies out there, our barbershops are just like your salons. All right. We get in there and we talk. Okay. We talk shop. Right? So anything that's going on, you're going to learn about it at the barbershop. And, so that's what they do. They go and they talk, and the people tell them how they feel. Oh, that's a good game right there, coach. You know what I'm saying? Or, hey, maybe we need to pick up on the defense, whatever. But it's all said right there. And part of his routine is he walk in there and get him a cup of that Joe, and, hey, Dale, it's a good cup of coffee tonight, and so forth and so on. And I'll tell you why I say that in later. But this is part of his routine. Gets his coffee, talks shop, and he goes on home. Now, what we find out about Coach Jones is, though, that when he goes home, not only has he been practicing all day with the kids, and he had a game, he also goes home and he looks at the films. You know what I'm saying? He look at the game film footage, and he goes over for the next game, and he's sitting there studying. And the wife comes in, she's like, She's like, hey, baby, you know, I'm going to bed. And he's like, all right, I'll be right up. And she's like, oh, well, that's the first I'll be right up of the year. So, you know what I'm saying? That lets you know that's kind of what he does. He is so engulfed into what he does, which is not a bad thing. However, someone has to suffer for it. That's the wife and his daughter, you know, so you're giving all your time during the day to the kids at this school. And your evenings, you're doing it for football. And then by the time you come home at night, you're also still studying game footage for the next game. At what point in time did you have any time for your kids? Right.
Balance.
That's it.
Balance.
That's
May I say that?
Absolutely.
That the whole coffee shop, the whole what was it, the barber shop. I actually became anxious when I saw that whole setup.
Really?
Because I knew the ugly was coming out. And I was like, okay, he's getting ready to hear it.
Right.
The ugly stuff, the things that people say behind your back.
Yep.
The things that, you know, like radio was getting all this help, this support. And the one person, Frank, the antagonist, you know, say all these ugly things and then pull that carpet right from under someone who's an underserved.
Right.
That really needs to help. And I became anxious because I've been that person.
Right.
And I could see all the turmoil and the character Frank, very passive aggressive.
Yep.
And I was just like, wow.
Yep.
It happens every day.
Yep.
We see it every day in the workplace, in the schools.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
And you could tell he doesn't think he's doing anything wrong.
No, he doesn't.
You know what I'm saying? You know?
Like, well, you know, but he's saying it, but everybody else is thinking
Everybody else is thinking it. And he's their voice, right? So that they're encouraging, hey, Frank, won't you say something? You know what I'm saying? And because he even said it, he's like, look, if nobody else wants to say it, I'll say it, you know? Like, well, we know who you are, Frank. Yeah, so like you said, you know, you have to have that balance in your life. It's not easy to get, but you have to have it because someone is going to suffer. You know, I think about all the people that have done a lot of great things out there, right? You know, the Bill Gates, you know, the Tyler Perry's, the Oprah Winfrey. They've done a lot of great things, but who in their life has suffered? You know what I mean? Who didn't get that attention that they feel like they should have gotten. Like, okay, that's great. And you're a billionaire and everybody knows you and loves you and all that. But what about me? Right. You know? So that's definitely something to think about, guys. But yeah, so we get a chance to find out who Coach Jones is. You know, he's a very dedicated man. Now there's nothing bad about it, right? Not necessarily, but just the truth is the truth. Someone's, you know, going to suffer, and his family does deserve his attention as well and his love. And so it wasn't just growth for radio; it was growth for Coach Jones as well. You know, and so anyway, so we're going through all of this, and like Tracy mentioned, you know, we're having that pushback from these passive aggressive people in the town and everything like that. But it's not like he's losing all the games. He's not losing all the games. He's just not winning as many games as they possibly would have won had radio not been involved, right? But I love that Coach Jones isn't worried about that. He's just not worried about that at all. He is so locked in on helping radio, and that is his main focus of this whole movie. Now, there's been some incidents. There's some things that have happened that have caused the state to get involved. Okay, and this is the part right there. I was like, oh, let me make sure I mention this. So the man from that was sent from the state, you know, he calls radio a severely retarded man. And right there, I was like, oh, let me write that down so I can bring that up to Tracy. And this is what I was talking about at that time, you know, in history. That was just it. I mean, they didn't say he was autistic. He said he was a severely retarded man. That was it.
And in law, someone like radio, they would address him as an idiot. And I think it's still in the law books now. I think they still have that.
Really?
I don't believe they've changed it.
Wow.
And someone that was that's impaired like that, they still have them as idiot, which is really interesting.
That's ridiculous.
Now they may have changed it with all the different things going on, you know, today, but I don't think so.
Wow.
Some aspects, I don't think so. But yeah, just that severely retarded. That also kind of touched on the whole eugenics thing, the black stork. You know, that whole movement where you had people that were mentally retarded and you had a group that would come and want to basically euthanize them because it was better for them in the long run so that they wouldn't become a killer, a rapist. So that right there goes back to eugenics and the Black Stork movement. when he brought that up. So that was a hidden message that if you didn't know about that, then you kind of knew. You know, I knew when he said that, I knew right away that he was talking about that. Like he's wicked,
right?
You know, and he'll do bad things. He might come after your daughter, just by that one little statement.
Yep.
Severely, retarded.
Right. Yeah, he could have just said a retarded. He's severely right.
So you're afraid.
Exactly.
Fear.
That part. And listen, and just like you mentioned with Principal Daniels, Alfred Woodard's character, I understand that there are kids involved. You know what I mean? I understand that they have to be a little concerned, and at least look into it and so forth and so on. But it looked like before they even got a chance to diagnose him or anything like that, he's this. We're going to put him in this box, and then that's just it. You know what I mean? No matter his characteristics, the things that he was doing, or see how sweet of a person he was. You know what I mean? Let's just throw that out the window. He's severely retarded. Put him in this box. Get him away from the kids.
He could do anything.
He can do anything.
Anything. You don't know his mind. He can rape. He can steal. He can stab. He's wicked. Because of that one little. Yeah. Severely retarded.
And while they so focused on him, they overlook the other people that are, supposed to be normal, but are actually doing these things that they should be worried about, right? Mm-hmm. So I tell you that Coach Jones at that moment, though, just seeing his mannerisms and seeing what he was like, the looks that he was giving this man, like they even showed one part, they even zoomed in on his ring tapping on the daggone thing. He was trying to hold it together like, oh, I just want to launch across this room and choke this little dude out so bad. Oh, it's like it took everything into him to be like, don't hurt him. Don't hurt him. He was trying to be patient. And again, like I said, Alfred Woodard, you know what I mean? She's trying to play a little bit kind of both sides of the fence. She has to adhere to some of the things with the state to stand, but at the same time, she's trying to protect her employee as well and keep him calm because she knows him, But so again, like I said, just trying to play that role. I was like, look at her, man. She's doing her thing. But anyway, okay, so now we have to state they're looking at him. And now she's definitely like, look, I will let you bring him into some of the games and so forth and so on. But when you're now talking about, because there was one part where they tried to get him on a field trip. He even talked to the mom, right? Mm-hmm. Now between this time, he's met the mom, and the mom is kind of like, okay, strange white man dropping my son off, right? Then she's kind of like, okay. And then even she had to, after a while, she's like, what? Why are you doing this? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's really going on? And you got to imagine at that moment, at that time period, also, like you said, she wants to be protective of her son, but she don't know what this guy is up to. You know what I'm saying? Right. White, black, whatever. This stranger, right? It's like stranger danger, right? Yep. What is his purpose? I don't want him. He might be molesting my son or something. Who knows, right? So she has to be like that. But I think she went with her gut, and she was like, no, I think this man, might be okay. Okay, fine. Just please watch my baby, so forth and so on. So he tried to get him on the field trip, but, the principal, she shut that down. So again, like I said, right, those moments you're like, okay, well, whose side is she on? But you got to understand she's responsible for these kids as well. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to like, okay, I guess I understand a little bit too, but it was a hard pill to swallow for me because I'm like, but he's radio and we know he has we know he's not up to anything, but at that time she doesn't know what James Robert Kennedy is going to do,
and she has to play both ends against the middle.
She has to play both ends. Yep.
Keep it dress. Yep. So she'll know at all angles what's going on. So if when it comes her way, then she got it. She got it down either way. Yep. Any direction.
So that's why I had to salute her. I'm like, okay, you're playing that right. I get it. So he didn't get a chance to go on the field trip. However, he was able to bring him into the school eventually. Mm-hmm. In which she was already like, because I think she even told the man from the state, she's like, look, believe me when I tell you, I got my own little rules and protocols that trust me, I don't play. However, let's try to give this a little bit of a chance. So she gave him a little rope. She gave him a little rope. She's like, I'm gonna give you a little bit. Don't mess this up because you are jeopardizing my job too, partner. You know what I'm saying? And so, he's able to bring him to the school. I mean, I think football season might have been over by this time and everything. So I think he goes back to just teaching when he's not coaching. And by this time he had asked Honeycutt, like, hey, look, basketball season is coming. Yeah. And this is why I was saying with Honeycutt, you kind of see that he's down for the coach. Now that might not have been his idea to say, let me bring radio in, but if coach is saying it, okay, fine. You know what I mean? I can find something for him to do. And so he brings him in. Now, here's the thing. Johnny apparently is like Bo Jackson or something. So he plays football, he plays basketball, probably baseball. He's just all American around here. He doesn't like this, he had to deal with Radio playing football. Now you got to deal with him on the basketball court, and and Radio, bless his heart, he's doing some of the same things, right? He's next to the coach and he's trying to throw signals and do all whatever to the point where the referee's like, hey, get him off the court. You know what I'm saying? Sit down in the seat. We don't mind him being here, but you can't just be all out on the court, man. But of course this is his first experience with this, so he has to learn. You know what I mean? To know, like, anybody that doesn't know, don't know. They don't know that, hey, you can't be out there with the coach. You can be out here, but you got to sit on the bench. You know what I'm saying? And cheerlead from the bench and whatnot. So these are things he had to learn along the way. But along this time, you know what I'm saying, that we see Johnny doing this thing. And what you're looking over there like you got a particular part you want to bring up.
Well, I'm just saying, Johnny is your typical jock.
Oh, yeah.
Big man on campus. Privileged. Dad has money to and he's on, what are they, boosters?
Yes.
So they boosters, so they provide certain things for the school, for the community. Yep. So he figured he can do anything when he wants.
Have his way.
Yeah. So we've seen
challenge the teacher, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We know that guy.
We know that guy. You know that guy. Yeah. And he just has it out. He has it out for Radio, man. He's just getting on my nerves. But anyway, I like the dynamic between Coach Jones and Radio, the way he has taken him in kind of like a son. Again, we still don't know his motivations, and we're gonna get to it, y'all, because they're thinking like, well, what is it? But the Principal Daniel has basically said, you can have him here, but you have to keep him close to you at all times. Now, to her credit, she knew that. Like, she had enough foresight to say, if I do this, he has to be supervised. Period. The reason being, because as we know, Johnny. He gets his opportunity. Like locking him in the shed wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. All right. Now, I want to say this too for y'all. I mean, this is an older movie, and I should have said spoiler alert. I mean, but it could be that y'all have never seen Radio. You know what I mean? So we're not going to tell you the whole movie, but we'll tell you certain little things just to kind of let you know what's going on. But Mr. Johnny here, right? He's the antagonist, and he takes advantage of the fact that Radio is not supervised at the moment, right? And he tells him, hey, look, such and such, Miss such and such, wants you to go into the girls' locker room and go get something. And now this is what I'm trying to say. Radio is not stupid, because Radio even says right there, no, I can't do that. No. You know what I mean? Like, he knows right from wrong. You can tell that he knows right from wrong, because he said right there, no, but he's trying to trust Johnny. You know what I mean? Even though Johnny does the thing, that's how pure his heart was, that he forgave Johnny for the thing he did the first time. And he gave him an opportunity to try to trust him again, wipe the slate clean. And he destroys that. He dirties that slate right back up, because he tells him, oh, Miss such such wants you to go into the girls' locker room and get the towels or whatever it was. And he tricks him by basically saying, well, she's going to be mad at you if you don't do it. And so, of course, Radio, being pure heart, he doesn't want anybody mad at him. So what does he do? Trots right on in there. And of course, all the girls are in there and they're screaming. He's running out. He's freaking out and all this stuff here. And he's like, oh, my God, bad radio. And I felt so bad for him right then, too.
I did, too.
Oh, I felt so bad for him. I'm like, you cruel kids, man. Like, why would y'all do something like that?
Imp. That's all.
Yes, man. Like, ugh. But I'm gonna tell you something. To his credit to his character, I don't care what kind of intellectual stuff he had going on. His heart was so pure, because the coach asked him. He said, "Who told you to do this?" And he would not say it.
Wouldn't.
Okay. Now, before they had that whole thing stop snitching and all that stuff there before it became popular, Radio been stopped snitching. Okay, he wouldn't snitch on him for nothing. The man, an antagonist, he done tied him up into the shed. He treats him like crap. All that stuff there, and he still would not tell on Johnny at all. He just said, "You're gonna be mad at somebody, be mad at Radio. I'll take the blame." And I was like, man, hey man, that boy's 100, man.
That was big.
What?
That was big.
I mean, it just really spoke to his character of who he was inside, period. And I was like, there are some people, he even said it, Coach Jones said, you're a better man than me. Because I would have told. You know what I'm saying? I would have told on every last one of them. But he didn't have to, because just as Coach said, there were plenty of other people that was willing to tell, because they knew it was wrong. You know what I mean? The people that were not followers. Okay. And so he approaches Johnny. He's like, hey, I heard about it, and you're basically not going to play the next game. And he wasn't even the basketball coach, you know what I'm saying? But he was the sports, sports activity director, however you want to say.
He was the director.
Right. Yes. And so, here comes Principal Daniels. This is why I say she was kind of hopping back and forth, like you said, right? Kind of playing the middle, because at that moment, he was like, what's the problem over here? You heard what the problem was. She's like, you don't tell me what I heard and don't heard. I said, ooh, Black Mama.
Right there,
checked him right there. Like, you don't tell me what I heard, partner. Now, what did he say? Well, he said, I can't play on since he is the sports activity director and so forth and so on. Cause I think coach was like, no, I'm not saying what I'm thinking. I'm telling you what I'm telling you. You're not going to play. And she was like, well, I guess you ain't playing.
Okay.
I said, ooh.
That's word.
Done, partner. You know what I'm saying? And so all he could do was just storm off mad, probably went and cried to his daddy. You know what I mean? And we know that because the next scene, what do we have? We got the man back from the state.
Yep, the bean counter.
The bean counter is back.
Sorry. That's old.
No, but that's what he is, though. The bean counter is back. He looked like one, too. Just the whole dress up, the way they had him. Oh, my God. And Coach is furious now. Because now he's like, who told you all this stuff? Because the stuff that he's saying, he's like, this didn't just come from some random person. This is very specific to somebody that I know. And so, of course, fortunately, he didn't beat him up because he looked like he wanted to tear him limb from limb.
Did you see how he tried to take him down? She said, son.
Yeah, he did. He did, too. He was like, son, I don't care who you are. You a son to me, partner. It's funny that you remember that.
I'm your eldest.
I'm your eldest. Hey, respect. Put some respect on my name. Right. All three of y'all. So, so anyway, he knew exactly who it was, and he went straight to him. Went straight to the bank to see old Frank. Hey, Frank, what's up, man? You know what I'm saying? What's going on, partner? What's really happening? Oh, I know what it is. You're mad because I benched your son. You know what I'm saying? Just go and say it. Mm-hmm. That's all it is. You mad and you're being spiteful right now. You know what I mean? But in the end, listen, God has control over everything. Frank couldn't stop anything. Mm-mm. He couldn't stop. He tried. But the only thing he really did was show his true colors. You know what I'm saying? Of who he really was. So,
but you can deal with that because he showed who he was.
Because he showed.
So you know what you're dealing with.
That's listen, Trace, I'm going to tell you something. One of my prayers always is like, Lord, just reveal to me who people are. Mm-hmm. I just need to see who they are so I'll know how to approach the situation.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to be smiling all in the face of my enemies and all that stuff there. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's your enemy. Okay, well, cool. You stay right over there in the enemy slot, so I know who you are.
Still got to keep them close.
But you still got to keep them close so you can watch them. Absolutely. Yes. So, so all in all, like I said, just good stuff all the way around. I'm really loving how Coach Jones was, and how the love that he had for radio. Not only this black, young man, but a mentally challenged young man. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, and there was also, when he went, there was a whole big thing that could have happened. Being a black man, how old was radio, really? In a room full of the younger white girls.
Yep.
I didn't see any little young black girls in there. That could have been a lynching. Absolutely. Back during that time.
Absolutely.
In that area. So there was a lot.
Oh, yeah, South Carolina? Oh, yes. Yeah. What?
See, Johnny didn't understand by playing that little prank, he was taking that man's life.
Absolutely.
And the coach understood that.
Right.
It was way bigger than what Johnny was doing.
You mean the same way they lied on Emmett Till? You know what I'm saying?
Gosh. Yes. That child, he suffered too. Yeah, that's another story.
Same way. Mm-hmm. And the thing about it is, these people, I think even with when you mentioned the person that attacked your son, I don't think he had a good life after that.
I know he didn't.
Oh, well, there you go.
But
that's a whole nother story, ain't it?
Yeah, that's a whole nother story.
But see, God will handle that for you. You know what I'm saying? He will. And you may not. A lot of times people need that quick, short-term satisfaction. They need to get back at somebody right then, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes you don't even have to do that. You just pray for them. You step back, and God's going to do that. You know what I'm saying? And for the rest of their life, they'll have to reap what they sowed. You know what I mean? So
that's right.
So we don't want to spoil too much for them, but let's just say that there's a tragedy that happens a little bit later for our boy radio. Okay. Mm-hmm. And, by the grace of God that Coach Jones was put in his life because he absolutely needed him during this time. Now between this time, we've seen that there's been a little bit of strain between him and his daughter because she's as a I guess an only child. I think she was the only child, right?
Yes.
That she would probably feel like, hey, you're spending so much time with everybody else. What about me? You know, I got other things going on. You know, like as the wife was trying to tell him, like, hey, she's got finals, she's got these other things and cheerleading, and you're not paying attention to her. You know, and now he's looking like, yeah, but she's normal. She's okay. You know what I'm saying? Like this person really needs me. You know what I mean? Yeah, but your daughter needs you too.
But do you have daughters? Do you have?
I have two.
Now, so one thing I was mentioning to Timmy, I think I was talking to her about that. But also, when the daughter came in late, he stepped back because she's growing. She's not a little girl anymore. Right. She's turning into a woman, and I think in a way that frightened him.
Right.
You know, so
see that.
if he kept his distance a little bit, maybe, I don't know, but I saw that in his eyes. It was that he was afraid, but radio, you know, is a guy and he can kind of connect with that.
Right.
But that, her growing up was frightening.
Right.
I mean, it scared him to death. I could see that,
right.
That whole transference.
Because he didn't really challenge it too much. It was just like, yeah, you know, you come home a little late. Yeah, Daddy, but, you know, I did sunset. He was like, yeah, well, okay.
So, Dad, what would you think? I mean, I'm not trying to...
No. I mean, it depends on...
growing.
It depends on what they're on. You know what I mean? Because obviously she wasn't a bad kid. She wasn't in a lot of trouble. So to me, I also saw trust with her as well. You know what I'm saying? Like he had trust for her to kind of know that. But now, because he actually said it in the line. He was like, I'm a teacher at the school. I know what's going on with my daughter. You know what I mean? So he sees her more than just when he's at home. He's at school with her. He hears things. So if Mary Helen was in the bathroom doing something she ain't got no business doing, you best believe he would have heard that. So I think for him, some of that also was a little bit of trust too. You know what I'm saying? To know that you kind of build a foundation for your kids, right? And you also have to give them a little rope to see if some of those teachings that you gave them, they actually put into use when certain situations come up. You know what I'm saying? Because of course, just like you said yourself, you can try to protect and collar them from everything you want to, but you're not going to be able to protect them from everything.
Right.
Those teachings that you gave them have to kick in, right? Those muscle memory, that muscle memory got to kick in, and they know that if someone's offering you drugs or somebody, you know what I'm saying, you say no. You know what I mean? Like y'all gonna do what you got to do. You still my friend, but I'm gonna be over here, and y'all let me know when you're finished. You feel what I'm saying? So I saw that fear, but I also saw a little bit of that trust, especially when he said that line of, "I'm the teacher up there. I know what's going on with her." So. You know what I mean? So it's kind of hard. Now, had they been on something else, I'd probably been a little bit, hey, okay, don't come in late like that no more. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you know the last time I had to pick you up from juvenile.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So,
right. Yeah.
But Mary Helen wasn't on that, and I think part of it for her was though, I'm a good kid. I'm a good kid, so you know I don't want to be punished for, you know what I'm saying, you know, for anything. I want some of that attention that you're giving radio too. I'm a little jealous of that, you know what I mean? Plus, she probably was a daddy's girl, you know what I'm saying? She probably worshipped her father, you know what I mean? You know, he's a great man in that town. He's not just her dad. He's the coach, you know what I mean? So, you know.
There's a lot going on. There's a lot
going. That's what I'm telling you, right? It's not just. That's what I'm saying. Like you could totally pick this apart. It's not just about radio. So much other stuff going on, and he said it at the end of the movie. And we'll get to the line.
Women's power, black women's power.
Black women's power. Right.
Parent-child relationship.
All that.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm going to shout out Deborah Winger for, when I was saying when she does her role, she does her role. That wife was supportive, man.
Oh, yeah. She's solid.
Almighty.
Yeah.
Man, come on. She had his back. Now, she checked him when she had to check him, but she was so supportive. She was like, I'm down for my man, and I'm going to ride with you. You know what I'm saying? Even to the point of making the jokes when he got all those flags that one game and everything. She brought the flag. She's like, you think we should bring that little role play? You know what I'm saying? But she was down for her dude. And I love that. She's like, baby, as long as you doing what's right, I got you. I got your back. So I just loved her for that. Because every time she was on the scene, it was just very supportive. Now, the one part I would say kind of tickled me, besides the pie part, was that when he was trying to get dressed for Christmas and everything.
Yeah, that was it.
Now, y'all got to understand, this is before cell phones, so you didn't have a picture phone to be able to had a phone and say, hey, look what I got on. You know what I'm saying? But he's trying to get dressed, and he's like, hey, so, you know, what should I wear? And I think the wife's like, yeah, just pick something. Pick a tie, And so he's talking to the phone. He's holding the phone up like, what you think about this right here? You know, like they can see it. You know what I mean? It's like, radio is fine. It's fine. So
he was excited.
Man.
Stuff that's so neat.
So excited. Now we get to the part of the Christmas, man. Oh my God. So now by this time, this is a month, because they kept saying months, in a few months, or the months that's passed. So this wasn't a full year. This was months. But in months, he's gotten the town to come and bring Christmas gifts for radio. Mm-hmm. Right? Now you're looking at it like, oh man, that's cool, because radio don't really have anything. You can see that they don't, they're struggling a little bit, right? They're a little poor and everything like that. You could tell by the neighborhood they was in. Mm-hmm. He has a bed full of presents. And then the next scene that you see is him going with his shopping cart.
Something beautiful, yeah.
And he is giving all of these gifts that he just got. He's giving them away. Mm-hmm. And once again, you're seeing the heart of radio right there. And as we know, back in those times, okay, a black man with a shopping cart full of gifts or items or whatever, right? Yeah. He's a suspect. He's minding his business. He's not breaking into anybody's homes. He's literally taking stuff out of the basket, putting it onto the front porch. So it'd be different if he was walking out of the house with some in his hand, putting it in the shopping cart. He's literally putting stuff on the porch, and as we see,
as today too.
Oh my God! Here comes the popo. You know what I'm saying? Riding by. Hey, what you doing there, boy? What's going on? And he's just like, I'm just give. He literally said too. My gifts. He said my gifts. Mm-hmm. That wasn't enough. He's got to get out the car. He's got to stop him like, hey, boy, what you doing? And such and whatever. And Brady was like, boy, don't you know who I am? But you can tell, by that time, you can tell, like, I'm radio, fool. Like, don't you know who I am? This is what I do. But, of course, what we find out is that guy was new. He had just been in town, I guess, for a week or something or whatever. But he's being who he is. And he arrests radio. Slams him on the car and everything, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, boy, when he get in that station, man, he brings him in there and the gate like, hey, what you got? You a weekend already? You already got a John Doe? And they go back and look, and they was like, oh, not radio. You know what I mean? So I like that the next scene you see is the dude sitting there to have to type out a report or whatever he doing. Radio sitting there eating sandwiches while he over there got to work, and they looking at Dr. J Slam and all this stuff there. And
that was nice.
I thought that was so cool, man. I was like, now the whole thing about movie in Hollywood, you don't know what is exactly the way it happened. You know what I'm saying? And of course, I'm pretty sure they add or take out or whatever. I'm hoping that happened. I'm hoping that happened just like that. Mm-hmm. I really am hoping it happened just like that. That if he got locked up, that cop that locked him up had to, do the reports or do something else, whatever. Because the very next scene is him riding, him having to ride radio around, giving out those gifts.
Not the gifts.
That's not the gift in his car now. You see what I'm saying?
Just desserts.
Just dessert. Yeah. That's what you get, man. So anyway. But yeah, so after that, now we get into the part that's just like so heart wrenching. There's a major loss that radio suffers, and he's so distraught that basically when we see his daughter's on the phone and she's crying and so forth and so on, and the father's coming, he's like, what's going on? And she tells him what's going on. He's like, oh my God. But right then I'm like, okay, Mary Helen, thank you. I know the jealousy is gone out the window. The everything that's about you is gone out the window. And now you realize that this person needs, they need your father, and she goes with him. And, right here, I'm telling, like I said, this is the first welling of the eyes. You know what I'm saying? It's first of the welling of the eyes, because he just, you can't, you already really couldn't understand radio sometime, but you really can't understand him now because he's crying but Coach is right there with him. You know what I'm saying? He's right there with him. He's telling him, how much this person loved him and all this stuff there, man. And he's just being there for him. And you can see that it's tearing the daughter up. You know what I'm saying? Because she's starting to understand now. Like, this is the purpose. This is why your father needed to be in his life. You had the upbringing that, that everybody dream of or whatever, but this person didn't, So for a moment, take yourself out of it and let this person have that. And so, right before they get out the car, they drove back to the house, and he was like, okay, you asked me why. Everybody in town has been asking me why that I'm doing this. Mm-hmm. And he explains, when I was young on a paper route, I would go past a certain house and I would hear some sounds. And when I went to go look in this box, I think he said kind of like chicken coop wire or something like that. Chicken wire was under the house. And he was like, I saw these little fingers coming out of there. Now he never said if that was a black or white boy, nothing like that. I'm gonna assume black. I'm gonna make an assumption, but whoever it was, he probably had mental issues as well, and someone was doing the same thing that Johnny was doing, which is probably why he was so tore up about them locking radio into that shed, because it reminded him of what those kids or whoever did to that little boy. And he said, I never helped him though. He said, I did that route for 2 years and I never did anything about that. And that's something that obviously he held on for the rest of his life, even up until being an older man. And when he had an opportunity to do something this time, he did it. You know, he stood up, he stood for something. He said, no, this is wrong. And I'm going to do my best to help this young man the way I didn't help the young man, years ago.
It's the stigma, the shame, that like I told you about the person that I went way out yonder in the country, and they had that cage. It was like a baby bed, but it was a cage. They locked that person up at night.
Wow.
And a lot of families are ashamed, and that could have been the family that put him there. And but way back then, there's no telling.
Right.
People that were mentally ill, mentally retarded, they were treated all kind of ways in the hospitals and the institutions. So it's no telling. So with him, explaining that to the daughter, it said a whole lot.
Yeah.
But he felt ashamed.
He felt ashamed.
He didn't do anything, but now I'm going to do something.
Right.
And I'm going to make it right.
You say that because he technically didn't do anything. He didn't do it to the kid. Like he wasn't the one that put him under.
Right.
But guilty by association in the sense of he didn't do anything to help either though, which is just as worse, And so right then she, you could see her nodding her head like, okay, I get it. I get it. Thanks, Dad. You know what I'm saying? And then you can see their bond, even closer, and tighter at that moment. So, yeah. And so from there, we get a chance to see another little montage, and then we go to and then there's the part when you were talking about him trying to help radio move on. He's basically saying, hey, look, what do you think about going to the 12th grade? He's like, I think that ain't happening. I think I'm cool right here in the 11th grade. I'm fine right where I am, because I get a chance to do the what did you try to say? The morning announcements, which that part for me, oh my God, just hearing radio. First of all, I told you, like, I like when the lady asks, hey, so which pie you want? Blueberry or feature? Both. And then, when he get on the announcements, he's announcement, we got Salisbury steak. And he's like, and we got French fries. Oh, I like them French fries. Yeah, and I was like, man, that's my dude, radio. Because I would be entertained by that too. You can just tell everybody's entertained about it. They're not laughing at him. They're laughing with him. You know what I'm saying? And he's just excited. He can, I remember back in the day. I mean, for me, school lunches wasn't all that great. But if you hear somebody on the radio that morning, they sound excited about it, they might get you a little excited. Yeah. You be like, okay, shoot. We got a pair of halves, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So I just thought that was cool. But he loves it. For anybody else, that's nothing, right? That's just, but for radio, that was everything. That was his job. That was something that he woke up to do every day and is excited to do it. And that's why Coach fought for him so much, because he's like, if you take that away from him, you're taking away his life. You're taking away the things that we're doing right now that's helping progress him. You know what I mean? So, but radio wasn't hearing that 12th grade stuff. He was like, no.
One thing Coach said too in that last little scene when they were talking about, taking him out of the school, it's like unconditional love. He shows us unconditional love. And I wish everybody could do that for each other.
Exactly.
He does it. It's just natural. It's a part of him. As you mentioned before, he's just the radio. That's just who he was.
Right.
And
Coach is saying he treats us the way we wish we could treat each other.
Right, that's it.
You know what I'm saying? That's the way. He's like, we're not teaching him. He's teaching us. Mm-hmm. Because see, the way his mind works, he doesn't have to think about the stuff that we think about each other all the time. Oh, I can't stand that person. I this, that, and the other. I want to plot against him. That's not the way he's wired. He's pure. He's innocent. He's like a child.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? And so, all he knows is pure love and caring and all this stuff. The way that if this world was like that would be a completely different world.
Yeah.
So, but like you said earlier, we know too much. You know what I'm saying? We know so much, like for our own good. Like we know too much for our own good, right? You know what I mean? Because we're so smart, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah. So just watching him trying to help him progress. But we saw that radio was comfortable right at being 11th grade.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's fine, you know. And so we get a chance to fast forward to all of that, and we find out that now my girl is coming around now. Because she's coming around now. Because right at that end when, you know what I'm saying, he's doing the graduation thing. And I must say, this is a shout out to old Johnny, because, you know, once Coach told him, like, he didn't snitch on you. There was plenty of other people that was doing that, because that's what he think. Oh yeah, thank you, boy, for snitching. Nah, he didn't say anything. You know what I mean? And so when he comes back from after being suspended, you know, radio's finally learned how to write a little bit, right? And he's got the radio right there, and he got the little note, and the note don't say anything, but he could just tell that he wrote it. You know what I mean? Like, you saw right there the breakthrough with Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you being mean toward this person right here who's done nothing but try to show you love?
Right.
You know, from day one, and you could see the breakthrough when he came over there and was like, "Hey, man, you know, thank you." And so at the end, when he gives him that jacket, because, you know, he's gotten a letter.
Oh yeah, that's right.
When he gives him that jacket, see, that's the part where, you know, we were talking earlier about it's making you kind of cry or something like that. Yeah. That was the part for me that got me. I'm like, oh man, I was trying not to well up, but that's the one that got me right there, because I'm like, just to see, you know, the love, you know what I'm saying? Because that's like radio has, you know, godly love.
Yes.
For people, you know what I mean? And just to see that through all this anger and evil and all the stuff people try to do, that love outshines all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it broke through on Johnny, and Johnny had to give it up. You know what I mean? He even told his father, like radio's not the problem. You are the problem. You know? So to see that breakthrough right there, I was like, I'm
sorry.
I'm just like, I'm all in my feels right now, right?
Not only will it help Johnny, it'll help him when he has children.
Absolutely.
And so on and so forth and so forth.
Absolutely.
It'll trickle down that lesson.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. And so, yeah, so, you know, we get to the end, and, you know, it's a nice little happy ending, the way they wrapped it all up and everything like that. I think, you know, even to the part where the one part we skipped over is Coach in that barbershop.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it was three times, three main times. The very first time when he was like, "Oh, congratulations, coach." Then the second time when Frank is basically calling him out, saying, "Oh, you know, you got these distractions and such," and then, you know, he's like, "Yeah, Dale, coffee ain't so good today." You know what I'm saying? But then that very last time when he was pretty much like, "You know what? I tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna go ahead and back away from this coaching. I'm gonna let y'all do your thing. Obviously, I'm causing too many problems and so forth and so on, but I'm also neglecting my family."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm going to try to look at what's more important in my life as well, because that's just the lessons that have been taught, and they all learned it, you know, from radio. Mm-hmm. And the one part that had me just rolling, because Frank, you know, he just so smug and think he knows everything. And that one guy said, "See what you did, Frank? See what you did? Thanks a lot, Frank."
He's like, what I do?
Thank you. Are you happy? Man, then he hit him with another. Are you happy now? But I do like how Honeycutt, because as Coach was talking, and then Frank tried to come in. Coach, I didn't. Hey, the man is talking. Mm-hmm. Shut up. Let him finish. You know what I mean? So I was like, that's Honeycutt with his man 50 grand, baby. You know, he didn't play. But anyway, they wrapped it up in a nice little bow. And right at the end, they got a chance to see some footage of the real radio in action, doing his thing. And I was like, man, he really embodied that guy.
That's what got me. That's when I started crying.
That's when it got you?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's the innocent. When you see in his eyes, you see the innocence.
Right.
I saw that. And, you know, I just was like, wow, this was a real dude. I mean, this is a real dude.
Like, he wouldn't hurt a fly.
Through that. No. Well, how could they do all those things?
Right.
But he still triumphed in the end.
Still triumphed at the end. I think the coach got inducted into some kind of coaching Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. And you want to see the good guys win. You know, we're in a world where we see so many other people that we're like, wow, look at them. I mean, it's like if you do evil, that's just what people, you know, that's what gets you to the top. You know what I'm saying? You know, being cutthroat and not caring about people, and that's what gets you to the top. But to see that type of thing, to know that triumph, you know, that good does triumph in the end. That was just a wonderful story. So
it's beautiful.
Beautiful. So as you guys hear it, for those who have watched radio, y'all know exactly what we're talking about. For you ones that have not watched radio, please make your way to your nearest, Netflix, or I think I caught this one on Max. You know,
yeah,
you caught it on Max as well. Please go check this out. It is absolutely an outstanding movie when you're talking about the human nature. You know what I'm saying? You know, and how we treat each other and things like that. So we're going to get into a little bit of rating here, Ms. Tracy.
Yes.
All right. Now, this is something we do around here. You know what I mean? We have to rate these movies. Okay. And we keep it real. You know what I'm saying? You know, movies aren't perfect. You know what I'm saying? Every now and then you'll get one like, man, that movie, that was just perfect all the way through. But I want to know from you, what do you think about this movie? What would you rate this movie from 1 to 10?
Oh, 1 to 10. I'm going to say a 9. And the reason I'll say, well, a 9 because there was a brother there, and I'd like to see maybe something more with him. Maybe he didn't want to be involved, but he was there after the tragedy.
Right.
And I just was like, well, who was he? What was this about?
Right.
So that's why. Other than that, it was a great feel-good movie. I like the different, the characters, all the dynamics, and just it was actually quite complex to be so simple. And I appreciated that because I like you, I pick things apart and I read through a program, a movie. But I enjoyed it again.
Absolutely. All right. Strong numbers. Okay. Yeah. I love it. Yeah, I definitely echo your sentiments. I would have loved to have seen the brother too.
Walter.
I think
that was his name.
I would have loved to have seen that. I think I also would have liked to see a little bit more with the dynamic between the father and the daughter and the wife as well. I would have liked a little bit more screen time with her too, because she was just so supportive and everything like that. I really like that. So I wish I would have got a little bit more screen time with her.
I can see that.
You know what I'm saying? Just because I think that the film could have used that some more, because there are other films that they have where you have this man or this woman who are doing something for other people, but you don't get a chance to delve into their life as much to see how much it really, really affects them. I think we've covered the same thing when we did Sound of Freedom, and this was a guy who was rescuing kids, from trafficking, child trafficking and stuff like that, sex trafficking and all this stuff like that. And I said kind of the same thing with that one, which is why I didn't give that one a perfect 10, because it would have been nice to see more of the dynamic with them. You know what I mean? Because we do see how supportive that she was, but we just saw those scenes. We didn't see the times when it really did bother them, though. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like it probably would have bothered the wife a little bit more, because like she said, hey, this is the first I'll be right up of the season and everything like that. But they just showed more of her being supportive, kind of like almost pretty much every time. But I'm pretty sure there might have been an argument or two.
In real life.
In real life? Come on. A little bit of argument or two. Like, come on now. Your wife got needs too.
Yeah.
So
come up here if you can't come up
here. Exactly, right? Like, come on now, keep it real. But of course you have time constraints when it comes to movies. You know what I mean? Like, you can't put everything in there, which is why we saw one scene in the trailer that wasn't actually in the movie. You feel what I'm saying? They got to go through what works, and then I know they have pre-screenings and have audience reactions to see how they reacted to that, and then they'll go back and say they didn't really react the way we thought, so let's change that scene with this scene, and so forth and so on. So that might have been what happened, but I would have liked to see a little bit more dynamic with his home life as well. But I know it's a radio movie, so it's got to focus a lot on radio. I also would have liked to seen a few more scenes with the mother.
Yeah.
For me, because just like you said, there was some coddling going on, but there's other things that happened. I would have liked to got a little bit more information with the father, and you know what I mean, stuff like that.
Maybe when he was younger.
Yeah, exactly. If they could have done a flashback or something like that, I would have liked to have seen that as well. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Was he just born like that, or did something happen? So forth and so on. So anyway, other than that, I think the movie's great. I will go ahead and give it an 8.5 for that. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Just for the things that there were missing that I would have liked to see.
I agree.
So maybe if there was a director's cut or something, I definitely would have watched that. You know what I mean?
Too.
So, okay, so it looks like we are looking at an 8.75 for radio, and that to me is really great. That is absolutely great. Yes. Let's give it up for radio, baby. You know what I mean? Now, here's what we're going to do. This is the last thing I promise I'll ask you to do. I would like for you to read our quote for the day. Now, before we go to, let me just say this, 'cause I didn't say it in the beginning. I know Timmy's going to be like, hey, I thought you said to say it. Please like and subscribe and turn on your notifications. All right. We have 122 subscribers now, and we've got quite a few views on that last one. And so I feel like it should be a little bit more of y'all subscribing out there. So I don't know if y'all are just clicking on it and listening to it and then getting about it. But if you don't mind, while you're doing it, can you press the like button? Can you press the subscribe button? And when you press the subscribe button, hit that little bell, and that bell will allow you to be notified every time a new video is dropped. So we appreciate y'all. All right. So Miss Trace, if you don't mind reading the quote for today.
I can do that. Courage isn't having the strength to go on. It is going on when you don't have the strength.
Ooh, now I feel like you can relate to that because it sounds like that's all you were saying up in your interview.
Yes,
Yeah.
100.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, y'all. Y'all heard it here. We're going to end this thing off with the Hangout mantra. Y'all know how we do. It is not the quantity of people. It's the quality.
That's right.
All right. So I just want to take a little time real quick to say thank you for our special guest for today, Tracy McClain. Tracy, you are absolutely wonderful. I'm pretty sure the people that's listening, they're going to be like, oh, wow, we like her. She cool. Bring her back on here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just tell you, and I'll speak on behalf of my co-host as well. You are more than welcome to come back here anytime that you would like. This is what we do. We like to have fun. And before you get out of here, we got to make sure you get some Timmy treats. You know, you don't know about these Timmy treats, you know what I mean? Because you know her from doing your hair and all the stuff here, but we know Timmy on a whole nother level over here, man. We get these Timmy treats, you know what I'm saying? So, but thank you again, and thank you all out there that are listening with us and who keep coming back. Thank y'all so much. We love you, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.